No book or DVD can truly convey the essence of the martial arts. You can read any of the books I've authored and co-authored, or greater works like the Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi, or Sun Tzu. All of these are only indicators of the actual art. They're fence posts on the road of martial arts that show the distance traveled. Countless hours, unknown miles, and unaccountable money have been spent in the quest for martial knowledge, earning this knowledge. Anybody that has been in the arts for some time can attest to this kind of effort. Their desire to grow, change, and study are not fleeting fancies that stop upon earning a black belt. It's a lifelong pursuit that's earned and not given away. And in the pursuit of this art, we integrate these lessons into who we are as a person. These lessons and techniques are trained, learned, and incorporated into our muscle memory and our minds. To simply read a book, view a DVD, or look at something on the World Wide Web doesn't truly illustrate what's going on in the art. Much like an iceberg has a larger part of its mass below the water surface, the martial arts are also. When I initially began training in the martial arts, videotape, DVD, the World Wide Web simply didn't exist. In fact, when I graduated from high school, no such thing as a computer even existed in the building. We were wholly dependent on our instructors and maybe an odd book that could be purchased by mail order and then passed around the martial arts club. In some instances, we went as far as ordering books we could not read simply to glean what we could from the pictures, and few magazines existed. Today things appear different because of the amount of information available, but it's not the depth of knowledge that's being conveyed, but the outer knowledge. So in actuality, it is the same as it has always been. In many ways, the same knowledge that I was able to get from the few scraps of information and books I could acquire is available today. This information is in a great volume with reverse angles, overhead shots, however, it is rarely deep. This is not a condemnation, only an observation. How many versions of a form or kata do you need to know? How many versions of Sanchin do you need to be able to do? The Goju-ryu version? Which one of those should you truly know, as there are several versions? What about the Isshin-ryu version of it, or the Shito-ryu version? And why do they spell it differently? The list goes on and on. These changes are sometimes personal, sometimes historical, or both. Chasing all of these questions, versions, or permutations sets the student on the path of institutional perfection, a test that can never successfully be passed. Frankly, seeking institutional perfection is about as effective as chasing a dozen rabbits through a field in an attempt to catch them all. The result is you catch none. This is because each institution claims to own the truth. And if you should catch one rabbit, the other screams in jealousy that they're the carriers of truth, and you've only captured a lesser rabbit. There's a joke that helps illustrate this point, and it goes, do you know how many karate instructors it takes to change a light bulb? No? It takes 100. 1 to do it and 99 to say, that's not the way I was taught. The teacher-student relationship is important in the martial arts. It always has been, and it will be, as far as the future can see. This relationship is important this specific way. Historically in the martial arts, things were not shown to every student. Techniques, understandings, the emote, the outer, the hiden, the inner. There were ways of protecting oneself during a different time in world history. During a majority of human history, and for much of the world today actually, 911 emergencies, sidewalks, cell phones, video recorders, and many other items didn't exist, and they don't. Simply put, you were often on your own when it came to crime against you or your property. Further, your money was kept in your home and on your person. That meant that what you knew and what you studied within the martial arts was a vital concern. And for the ethical instructor, it was their responsibility to not arm the unscrupulous with fighting knowledge. The teacher did not decide to teach a person because they were dedicated. They were chosen to receive the fighting information by their character and relationship to the teacher. Family or tribe was more important than most any other form of relationship. When times got tough, crops failed, or fishing was poor, you depended on your family. When you became ill, you depended on the family. The success in competition against other families was the one and primary role of the family unit. The competition against countries, that's the function of the military. As a result, knowledge and know-how to defend oneself quickly and with the least amount of effort was important. keeping it secret stacked the odds in your favor. This resulted in an environment where not everything concerning the martial arts was taught or demonstrated to their full capacity. Some stories talk of techniques and ideas being taught incorrectly so as to hide them. The idea of deliberately teaching misinformation I can't speak to, but teachings deliberately omitted, yes, it has been done and it is done. The kata themselves are genius. And with not everything taught, technique and understanding passes away with each generation. Unless and until a genius with vision and insight comes along that is able to once again breathe life into the kata. Let me be explicit. I do not consider myself one of these people, and any allusion made in the direction is a mistake of the way I've written this DVD and is not my nature. The things that I share in this DVD were explicitly taught to me and I've learned from my own study. The reason for holding these forums in such high regard is to ensure that any information that is hidden or not clearly explained is held clearly to allow for later observation. This type of attitude makes perfect sense. An example of this behavior are the rocks retrieved from the moon by the Apollo missions in the late 60s and early 70s. While some rocks were studied and tested, others were put away for safekeeping so that the science advances that were made at a later date could be applied to these moon rocks for better scientific study. Yet holding these kata in high regard has not made them immune to change. They're not held in stasis like the moon rocks. A person need only go back one generation along their martial heritage and see changes. These changes have been in regard to timing, direction, distance, application. Even simple things as to where a thumb is placed or where the pressure on a foot might be. These things are sometimes trivial and sometimes significant, and it is up to the practitioner to discern. The only guidance I can offer in respect to this puzzle is this: form must follow function, and function must be clear. If the function is an affectation, the form requires stringent review. The idea behind this DVD appears to be at odds with everything that I've just said. However, it's not. When you take the time, the effort, and the diligence of doggedly pursuing the deeper meanings of your kata, you will learn much for yourself. This DVD is designed to help you in that pursuit.